Hi everyone. What you're about to see is a video compilation of some clips that I've edited together. Some from videos that I found a little bit by accident, and some that a lot of us are probably already familiar with. And I'm speaking of Matthew 4:19 and the Bible-thumping wingnut discussing rape, and in particular the gang rape of Monica Cora, and the use of chemical weapons in Syria as it relates to morality. Now, I've never made this plea before, but I think it might not be a bad idea if someone were to mirror this video for me. I don't think I've used any of their clips in a negative fashion. It's really just them speaking. And I don't even actually suspect that either one of them would flag this video inappropriately. But this is the most of anyone else's content I've ever used in a video before. And so if someone would mirror the video, I'd certainly appreciate it. Now, I've said before that I may make a rant video on Matthew 4:19's upload where he confronts the Jehovah's Witnesses. And I may still do that. But it's going to be as time permits. And so what I wanted to do is get this video out there and making a couple of the basic points that I wanted to make in that video. And that way, if I don't get a chance to make the other video, at least this is out there with the basic concept that I want to put forth. It doesn't encompass everything I want to say. There will be some commentary at the end of the video because I definitely have some things to say on the subject. But it does get some of the basic points across that I want to make. It's a very important subject. So if we're sitting comfortably, then we'll begin.
What happened was this one particular night she was kidnapped by three men at shortly after 2 o'clock in the morning. She was out with her friends, and they pulled up in a SUV and kidnapped her, drove for about 20 minutes, and then raped her repeatedly.
Do you think anything in creation exists outside of God's sovereign will and control?
And this is what I'm struggling with. People won't say that what happened to her was absolutely wrong.
You're saying that God has control over each one of us?
Oh, absolutely. Do you not think that?
And this is what I'm struggling with.
The question is, what was his plan and purpose in it?
I don't understand.
What did Paul say to the Romans in Romans 9? He said, "Who are you, O man, to question the potter?" Like, who are you to even ask that question? Because anything that God does is just by fact that he's God. So there's no injustice in him. There's no injustice, no unfairness in him. So by definition, everything that he does is just.
She was kidnapped.
You're saying that God has control over each one of us?
Oh, absolutely. Do you not think that?
We have all violated God's ordinances.
Do you think anything in creation exists outside of God's sovereign will and control?
We have all violated God's ordinances.
God has control over each one of us?
Oh, absolutely. Do you not think that?
For anyone to say that it's not absolutely wrong and to strum up some kind of scenario where it would have been right, it's just foolishness.
He's dignified us by giving us free will. But does that will exist independent and outside of God's sovereign will and decree?
For those of you who are responding and getting ready to send a text message or to comment on this video and say, give me a crazy scenario where it would be justified, that's just foolishness.
The question is, what was his plan and purpose in it?
And when you say that things aren't absolutely wrong, you expose the folly of your position. I'm sorry, but it's true.
You're saying that God has control over each one of us?
Oh, absolutely. Do you not think that? The question is, what was his plan and purpose in it? Raped
her. Repeatedly.
But were their choices independent of God's will? I mean, whatever happens outside of God's sovereign will and decree?
And what that World War II veteran that was attacked by two teenagers and killed for basically no reason.
doesn't mean that that they did it outside of his sovereign will. Again, what in all of creation exists outside of God's sovereign will and decree?
What's happening in Syria, all of the strife throughout the world is a result of a sin, sick, and fallen world. And Jesus Christ, when he comes back to this earth, and he is coming back, he is not coming back as a humble baby in a manger. He is coming back to pour out the full cup of God's wrath on the sons and daughters of disobedience.
You're saying that God has control over each one of us?
Oh, absolutely. Do you not think that?
Sons and daughters of disobedience.
Were their choices independent of God's will? I mean, whatever happens outside of God's sovereign will and decree?
It's such a ridiculous idea.
I mean, what
chemical warfare
ever happens outside of God's sovereign will and decree?
Because it makes absolutely no sense.
Right, it feels a little stupid.
Or that they would argue for a point where using chemical warfare is all right. And could there possibly be such a situation? I can't imagine one. If you get your morality from what the majority says, does that mean that if the majority decides that it's okay to use chemical warfare on a whole group of people, then you're okay with that?
Well, let me ask you this. If you get your morality from the sovereign creator of the universe, and he tells you that it's okay, in fact commands you to go and kill a bunch of people using chemical weapons, are you okay with that? Do you understand what the term absolute means when you say something is absolutely wrong? And don't tell me it hasn't happened in history, right? I mean, at least by scriptural accounts, it certainly has. Now, I could easily splice in the clip again of Matthew 4:19, but I'll just say it for him. Whatever happens in creation outside of the sovereign will and decree of God. You see, it dawns on me when I watch these videos of you guys expressing your moral outrage over rape and chemical warfare and any other thing that you consider to be immoral, that if you believe the way that you do, the most that you can actually say is that sort of rape in general would be wrong. War in general would be immoral. But certainly no individual instance of it could be, because you would be saying that in defiance of God's will, because anything that has happened has clearly been the intention of God. And I'm not strawmanning your position here. I understand. I understand that you're not saying that God forced those guys to rape Monica Cora, but that it was a predestination. It was a predetermination based on their nature, and that this fulfilled the will of God. So for you to rail against a specific rape is to actually act in defiance of your God's will. And really, even to say that being in defiance or being against rape in general would be the farthest you can go, you can't really even go that far. Because, of course, every rape that's ever happened, the only reason we even have the concept, in fact, the only reason we even have the concept of sin, living in a fallen world, being Adamic in nature, is because God introduced Adam and Eve to the tree and sent the serpent in to do his bidding because he had a plan. And the real question, as Matthew 4:19 put it, is what was the purpose? What was his plan? You see, you made this video, and you've made other videos where you rail against atheists for not coming out and saying that rape in general is absolutely wrong. And I would actually go as far as to say that the rapist is more moral than your God, because the rapist, deep down, probably knows that what he's doing is wrong. But his dysfunction overpowers his empathy for his victim. But your God intended for it all to happen, not just that one rape, all of them. You see, one of us believes that rape is absolutely wrong. It's just not you. Thanks for watching.